So why is there so much talk about the exploitation of women, but we never talk about this exploitation of men?
Because the men built the system, so they want to be exploited.
Again, if you want to go back to traditional roles, I mean, who set that system up? Men did.
They set this system up. Men set up the system to be empowered, to be in dirty positions, to separate gender roles.
What does it mean when people say it's a man's world?
It means men built the world. That's all.
Well, I don't say that. I think men are the ones that say that it's a man's world, and they want to be in charge, and of everything. In monarchies, they had kings and things like that. I think they're afraid of women being in power.
If it's a man's world and men built the system to benefit men, why is everything so heavily stacked against men?
Because men built the world for the safety and protection of women and children.
Men built our society. White, powerful men are in power.
Yeah, I believe the same thing too. Men took over, the United States, made it their country, took over people's land, and made it their own.
If it's a man's world and men built the system to benefit men, why is everything so heavily stacked against men?
It's not.
Well, what about the double standards in dating, divorce laws, child support, custody, and consent laws?
What about the sexual assault status, the amount of people that decide to ghost everyone, and then, just general men being assholes in general?
If women have it worse than men, would you be willing to trade places with a man?
Yes. That would be so much easier.
I think when people say it's a man's world is that men built a world for themselves where they can benefit themselves.
If it's a man's world and men built the system to benefit men, why is everything so heavily stacked against men?
I think men, they put themselves in a box and now they're realizing that they can't stay in that box forever. And that's why they're struggling now.
Why does our society think it's okay to dismiss men's issues just because a small group of powerful men built the system and made the laws?
I think that it's something that we definitely do need to work on because men's health and men's resources are important. But it's just, men are supposed to be strong.
Society thinks men should just suck it up and do what you're supposed to do, be a man.
How is that not oppressing the average men in this country?
It is, but at the same time, we're supposed to suck it up and take it on the chin.
Men are in denial that they have any issues, and they typically want to fix women and correct women and create laws where women have to abide to the rules and the governings of men, basically.
Does the patriarchy empower men or victimize men?
Both.
How?
The men on top stay on top while they create rules and regulations that can divide the ones that are not on top.
If men set up the system, what difference does it make who is oppressing them?
It doesn't make a difference, but the fact that we set it up and we let other people take over the opinions and the feelings of the situation, it just is what it is.
If men are blamed for building society, why aren't they credited for anything good in society?
I think that men have done some things, but behind them were women that gave them that stability and that emotional intelligence.
Why do people think that men can't be victims of a society that was built by men?
Because men are never supposed to be a victim.
I don't think men think of themselves as victims at all. So they think of women as the weaker sex, and so weaker, and being a victim go hand in hand.
Would women not be victims if women made the laws?
Women will still be victims, but if a man ever complains about being a victim, it's always going to be turned around and be even worse than what it really is.
Men tell other men to be silent, and as women, you're allowed to be more emotional. So you're going to listen to the loudest cry in the room versus someone who wasn't told to cry at all.
Why are women seen as bigger victims of men than men are victims of other men?
Because women are supposed to be protected and provided for no matter what, unconditionally.
I grew up where it doesn't matter if it's a woman that is abusing you or that treats you right. A woman is a woman no matter what, and you should always treat them with respect, no matter how much they abuse you mentally or physically.
If white men historically enslaved black men, why don't we blame all men?
We don't, because the white men did it.
So then why is it when rich men enslave poor men, we blame all men?
Because the rich men were originally the people who started this whole entire country, so unfortunately it goes for every man.
Who do you think is more empathetic, men or women?
Women.
If women are more empathetic than men, why are men more supportive of women's issues than women are supportive of men's issues?
I feel like because women have more issues to deal with because of men than men have to deal with issues because of women.
I don't necessarily think men are supportive of women's issues. I think they just like to talk about women and how they have issues.
But aren't you more likely to see a man fighting at a women's march than a woman standing up for men?
I don't believe so. I recall years back they had the Pink Pussy Hat March in Washington, and it was a bunch of women wearing pink hats, and I don't really recall it being largely men or seen any man at all.
If society was controlled by men, patriarchy, how would feminism be a movement that's gained traction without the help of men?
Because men helped the feminist movement. If it wasn't for men, the feminist movement wouldn't be a thing.
So then wouldn't men actually be victims of their own design?
Definitely so.
Women are always going to find a way, so despite having a society based against us, we will always come forth and make sure that we have a sisterhood together, so feminism.
If men fought to liberate women, why aren't women fighting to liberate men?
Men are the ones in control. They really don't need our help.
Aren't men pitted against each other as disposable pawns bound to serve women?
I've never thought about it like that, but when I hear men speak, I think they do.
Bound to serve women, no. Disposable pawns, maybe. I feel like it's always been the women serving men.
But aren't men expected to serve women as protectors and providers?
Yes, but
Isn't that bound to serve women?
I feel like it could go both ways because there is the traditional housewife that is serving, cooking, taking care of the children, that is technically serving them, making them meals, if that makes sense.
If men rule the world and control everything, why isn't simply being a man enough to get a high-profile position?
Because you have to prove yourself as a man.
You have to be an educated man. You have to be a man with resources. You have to be a man with a lot of things in order to do something.
Isn't that more likely to happen to women, especially if they're beautiful?
I feel like you still have to be pretty, but you still have to be educated. You still have to know other people, and you still have to be in the room where decisions are made.
But like I said, you have to prove yourself as a man, and a woman's value comes automatically.
So isn't it more likely that a woman is going to get a high-profile position without having to prove herself?
Yes.
If we lived in a matriarchal society that was run by women, what would the man's gender role become?
If you can't provide, then you're nothing.
We will still be the providers. We still do all the hard work, no matter what it is, even though women still do it these days.
Isn't that what we have right now?
Yes, it is.
Isn't that what we have right now?
Exactly.
So isn't that a matriarchy?
Yeah, I agree.
So then why would it matter if it was a matriarchy or a patriarchy?
It doesn't matter. It's just the way this generation is.
Why can't we recognize that average men are being punished and held accountable for those in power?
See, that right there, I do not have an answer for that because we do not know the answers to that.
If we had a matriarchy and average women were being oppressed, would those women still be considered victims?
Yes.
So then why would it matter if it was a matriarchy or a patriarchy?
It doesn't matter, but right now it's a patriarchy, so at this point that is something that it follows behind. If it was a matriarchy, I don't think there would be these kinds of issues.
Why can't we recognize that average men are being punished and held accountable for those in power?
I don't feel as though men in power can be any type of victims.
Aren't men being persecuted through their sexuality?
Yes.
How so?
Just because you are a man means that you're gonna harm somebody or do some type of violence towards somebody just because you're a man.
It's not right. I'm not saying it is right, but there have been more assaults on women from men than women on women.
Are women only oppressed by men, or are they also oppressed by other women?
I think they're also oppressed by other women.
How?
I think just beauty standards. I think just even, to be honest, it's beauty standards. I think it's like, I think the same reasons why men are oppressed like by other men are the same reason why women are oppressed by other women.
Should society ignore when women oppress other women?
No.
So then why do women ignore men's oppression when it comes from other men?
I feel like because it's a different, I mean, it can be the same type of oppression, but I think the oppression women put other women through is just like, it's a different type societally, but I feel like it's still like the same type of oppression.
How are we living in a patriarchy if men have oppressed men more than they've ever oppressed women?
I feel like women and men are oppressed, but women just got rights recently, and now these rights are being taken away.
Isn't oppression still oppression regardless of who's making the laws?
Of course.
So then why does it matter that we live in a patriarchy?
Damn. I don't know.
Why do men complain about the way men are treated and have harder lives at the same time men want to keep themselves in roles that oppress them?
Well, one, because men want to make the world better for themselves, but also for women and their children. So in turn, that right there is like it's like a self-sacrifice right there. So
Why are men always complaining about being blamed while still willingly accepting burdens?
because we know we can take it.
Men should be able to take care of themselves of this generation.
If that was true, then why are men unaliving themselves at 4 times the rate of women?
Because men are going through more stuff than they tell women, and we hold more things in than we let out, and we would rather destroy ourselves from the inside out than destroy what's around us.
And finally, why do men want to be leaders and providers when they're more likely to be blamed and punished for it?
They put that on themselves.
Part of being a leader is being responsible, being accountable. You know, if a mistake is going to be made, you go to the top. That's who's responsible.
That would be a man question. I think it's because of the toxic masculinity that society has forced upon everyone.
And finally, how are we living in a patriarchy if men have oppressed men more than they've ever oppressed women?
I don't know if it's more than they've ever oppressed women. We've been pretty down. But
I mean, didn't men send other men off to war to die and
Yeah.
women got to stay home?
women did have to stay home, but women, oh, we couldn't go if we had the choice, you know.
Isn't that a privilege to be alive while men were not?
I think, yes. Wow, you're good. You're good. Yes, yes.